What we're looking at here is the Atomstack A5 M50 laser engraver. Setting this thing up was one of the most frustrating things I've ever had to do. I'll get into that later. Ultimately, it's an easy plug and play device when you have the right software. I mean, literally. I just downloaded Laser Gerbil and Lightburn to see which one I liked more. And when I got everything to mesh, I dropped a picture into the work area of Lightburn, resized it, and pressed play. I got a pretty decent result from that. I don't know how I managed it, but the laser seemed to be focused perfectly for the thickness of the material that I was using based on the wealth of lack of knowledge and inadequate skill set I possess to properly focus and set this thing up. I've had this laser for a little over a month, but because of my strange schedule, number of projects I've been managing, and my inability to manage my time effectively, I've maybe had a few days worth of experience with it. That being said, if it's worth becoming proficient using this to you, go ahead and do it. I immediately saw the benefits of knowing how to use the M50 from one simple engraving. There's a lot I don't know how to do, but from the looks of it, you can make this as simple or complex as you want. Back to the setup. Andrew put it together, and then I took it home to figure out how it works. This is where things went downhill. After spending 3.5 hours trying to connect this supposedly plug and play piece of equipment to my computer, it magically showed up in the Laser Gerbil software. I have absolutely no idea what I did differently to make it work, but I was just relieved to have control over this thing. Now, I gotta admit, it's pretty sweet. Although this particular one doesn't have an automated or motorized Z-plane adjustment, so focusing the laser can be pretty tricky, especially if you can't get the software to pulse the laser. I've yet to figure this part out, although it seems that as long as you are a certain distance from the top of the workpiece, everything is fine. I cut out a rectangle with the word wood in it on a sample piece of what feels like birch or beech. Not sure. Could be bamboo. I don't know. It's not labeled. It's light and porous and burns pretty easily. That's all I know. Those pieces were relatively thin though. I wanted to engrave a picture I took on some plywood, so I burned another rectangle and wood into my intended workpiece to test the focus, which appeared to be spot on. Honestly, still have no idea what I'm looking at or for here, but the etching in the plywood was quite a bit cleaner than the etchings in the original test pieces. So I assume I had the height set better for 1/4 inch ply rather than whatever this stuff is. There are a lot of specs about the M50 to sift through. They advertise this with a 40-watt laser, but the optical output is claimed at 5 to 5.5 watts. I assume this machine takes 40 watts of input power to output 5 or so watts of laser power. I don't know much about lasers, but I believe that makes this a 5-watt laser? When the A5 M50 showed up, it was completely disassembled. Andrew told me that while he was reading the directions for assembly, that it was some sort of terrible English translation that made he himself feel like he was translating English to English. To which I said, that's fucked up. But he got it assembled, and we decided that I would take it to my house so I could play with it whenever I wasn't working or dealing with other aspects of my life. When it came to actually setting it up with my computer, the issue that I was having was something that I just couldn't find on any forum or website. I even watched several videos from other YouTube channels to see if I could figure out what I was doing wrong. No luck. I had downloaded the Laser Gerbil software, which I know a lot of folks out there say Gerbil, but the logo even has a gerbil on it, so I'm going to go with gerbil. Makes more sense in my mind. Look up gerbil in Urban Dictionary, and you may change your pronunciation as well. I also downloaded Lightburn, identified the port the laser was plugged into, which both softwares recognized as well somehow, set the proper baud for the port, downloaded the appropriate driver, checked to make sure I was using the right software, and even checked to make sure my laptop was compatible with the laser. I just kept plugging it in, letting my slow PC laptop recognize it, waiting a couple minutes, and having it not pop up. over and over and over and over and over and over again. It was super frustrating. Right when I was about to give up, all the controls gained some color and I was suddenly able to power the laser and move it around. Once again, no idea what I did differently. Every single video I watched about this thing was just like, you just gotta plug it in and wait for it to show up in this little drop down box and you can start engraving stuff. Well, that's apparently not always the case, so if this same thing happens to you, don't get discouraged. Lightburn has a convenient test grid that you can initiate to see if the laser is etching at the rates and powers that are within the specific hardware's realm of capability. I tried it on cardboard with wildly varying degrees of success that seemed to be just on either side of satisfactory. I assume this is because I didn't have the laser properly focused, or maybe it was because the surface of the cardboard was inconsistent, maybe both, maybe some more. All I knew was this thing worked. So I imported a picture that I took at the American Rally Association's 100-acre wood rally, adjusted the size to make sure it would fit on my 1/4-inch workpiece, and press play. And I got a pretty good result. If you are into woodworking, or want to get into custom engravings, you may be familiar with the concept of laser engravers, and you may be curious as to which one is best. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that this one is fairly simple and easy to use as long as you don't have trouble getting it to connect to your PC of choice. I connected this to an incredibly outdated PC laptop to make this thing work for this video because I was not willing at the time to purchase Lightburn just to see if I could make it work with my Mac. When we inevitably buy the full license to the software and test this thing with the Mac, we'll drop our findings in the description. And just for the record, this laser engraver was provided to us by Atomstack. They didn't necessarily sponsor this video, but with the debut of this video comes our ownership of this $300 laser engraver at no cost to us. If you want to know if this is worth the price, I'd say it is.